It's official. The impeachment inquiry was formalized with a vote in the House this week, despite the fact that such a vote was constitutionally unnecessary, despite the fact that House rules implemented by a Republican majority back in 2015 don't require such a vote. Leading up to the vote, it was yet another week of damning testimony from career diplomats and national security officials, including both nonpartisan and political appointees. The top Ukraine expert on the National Security Council, Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman, told House investigators he was concerned President Trump was blocking $400 million in aid to Ukraine to force that country to publicly announce an investigation into Joe Biden, according to two sources familiar with his deposition. And when he raised concerns about the transcript of the now infamous July 25th call between President Trump and the Ukrainian president, he was told to keep quiet by the National Security Council's top legal advisor. An aide to former National Security Advisor John Bolton, Tim Morrison, supported previous testimony about how long the effort to block military aid had been going on. He confirmed an attempted quid pro quo, but said he did not view the July phone call as illegal. He did, however, ask the same NSC lawyer to review it. No surprise, the president is putting that nugget in the win column. But complaints about the process of impeachment were answered by Democrats with the formal guidelines this week, which mean we could get testimony transcripts as early as next week and public hearings in a couple weeks. Now, as for what happens next, here's the deal. Impeachment is both a practical and a political process. Keep that in mind as we move forward here. So practically, the conclusion is fairly straightforward and looks inevitable. The House, controlled by majority Democrats, will likely vote to impeach the president. Nancy Pelosi and other Democrats might say no one comes to Congress to impeach a president, but that's not technically true. I can think of at least a couple who ran on wanting to impeach the president. One even used colorful language to describe what she was going to do to him. Okay, so we can also practically conclude that the Senate, which will serve as jurors in the trial of the president and is made up of majority Republicans, will likely not vote to convict and remove the president. So he'll likely be right where he is when this is all said and done. Okay, that's the practical part of impeachment. What we don't yet know is how the politics of impeachment will shake out for Trump, for Democrats and Republicans in Congress, and for the 2020 contenders. That is still a huge question mark. Will impeachment help Trump? Will it damage him? If this drags on through to 2020, will it hurt Democratic presidential candidates? Will it hurt swing state candidates in districts Trump won? There's some early warning signs, some things we do know. Two Democrats voted against the formal impeachment rules this week. They are both from districts Trump won by double digits. Not a single House Republican voted for it. That's not that surprising. But what will Republican senators do? Some are starting to shift off Trump's talking point that there was no quid pro quo and are admitting, yes, there was a quid pro quo, but that it's not illegal, as Senators John Kennedy and Ted Cruz reportedly said in a private GOP lunch this week. That's not great for Trump. Now, what about voters? Remember them? Well, the latest Washington Post ABC News poll shows 49% support impeachment and removal right now, and 47% are opposed. That's a real slim majority. And independents are reversed, actually. 47% support, 49% oppose. That should be troubling for Democrats. Throw on top of all of that, there's potentially a government shutdown looming on the horizon, which could delay the impeachment process even further, and that benefits Trump. There's no way to tell yet how the politics of impeachment will shake out. Speaker Nancy Pelosi was careful this week not to overstate their position, saying, I do think we have enough. We've had enough for a very long time, but as long as there is corroboration, we might as well get to see some more, and then we'll see.
Well, what's next for the impeachment process? The Democrats who run the House of Representatives may decide, there's just not enough here for the House Judiciary Committee to vote articles of impeachment, and they'll just close the investigation. Another possibility is that the House Judiciary Committee does vote articles of impeachment, and then the full House will have to vote on whether Donald Trump will be impeached. Now, if there is a majority in support of impeachment, Donald Trump doesn't lose his office. That's like a formal charge. It's like an indictment. So if Donald Trump is indicted the way Bill Clinton was impeached, then the case will go to the United States Senate. There has to be a trial presided over by John Roberts, the Chief Justice of the United States. And after that trial, the Senate will have to vote on whether to convict Donald Trump. It takes 2/3, 67 votes in the Senate, to remove a president from office. I think most people believe, at the end of the day, there is almost no chance that Donald Trump will be convicted in the Senate. So the question that is on everyone's minds is, what will the effect of this whole impeachment process be on the 2020 election?
It's Halloween night here in central Hong Kong, but instead of people out celebrating, we see that just down the block. Tear gas being fired by Hong Kong police at an illegal group of protesters. Protesters now throwing objects at the officers who have set up a dividing line blocking off this intersection here, trying to contain the crowds, trying to keep people from moving from one place to another and assembling in too large of numbers. But you can see just now things really starting to pick up. People are running away from the riot police, who are now moving down the block, trying to clear off the area, just like they've done in similar streets with people out, some of them for a night out on the town, but many of them out here as we enter the 22nd week of protests here in Hong Kong. More than 4 months of demonstrations, and even on Halloween night, there's no party, just this. Will Ripley, CNN, Hong Kong.
Director Pompeo assessed WikiLeaks in one point as a hostile intelligence service. Given your law enforcement experience and your knowledge of what WikiLeaks did here and what they do generally, would you assess that to be accurate or something similar? How would you assess what WikiLeaks does?
Absolutely. And they are currently under indictment. It's Julian Assange.
But would it be fair to describe them as, you would agree with Mr. Director Pompeo, that's what he was when he made that remark, that it's a hostile intelligence service, correct?
Yes.
If we could put up slide 6. This just came out, WikiLeaks. I love WikiLeaks. Donald Trump, October 10th, 2016. This WikiLeaks stuff is unbelievable. It tells you the inner heart. You got to read it. Donald Trump, October 12th, 2016. This WikiLeaks is like a treasure trove. Donald Trump, October 31st, 2016. Boy, I love reading those WikiLeaks. Donald Trump, November 4th, 2016. Do any of those quotes disturb you, Mr. Director?
I'm not certain I would say.
How do you react to that?
Well, it's probably problematic is an understatement in terms of what it displays in terms of giving some, hope or some boost to what is and should be illegal activity.
Many people in this crowd have never met a Muslim. So few of them live in this region of Eastern Germany. But everyone here is worried about it. Why do you fear Islam?
I think the Islam cannot live in Germany. The Islam is a religion that has no place in Germany.
Well, these weekly rallies started in Dresden last October. Only a few hundred attended, but the movement has since exploded. On this night, police put the crowd at more than 25,000. They're here to stand against what they believe is the Islamization of the West. Catherine Oertel is one of the leaders of the movement. She tells me they're protecting German culture because Muslims are only a tiny fraction of the population, but they're dominating society. The events in Paris weigh heavily on this crowd. The speaker tells them the terror attacks prove they are right to raise these issues. But Germany's political establishment has been scathingly critical of this movement. Some of the strongest language has come from the Chancellor, Angela Merkel. The Chancellor says the leaders of this movement have hatred in their heart.
No, there is no hatred. Hate against whom? People against
Immigrants.
Islam? No,
Muslims.
They have no hate. They has no hate in their hearts. But they want rules. Rules, not that everybody can come in without any rules. Yeah?
But that view doesn't dominate this community, it divides it. In this city and others, tens of thousands have been rallying against the anti-Islam movement. Police keep the two sides apart.
It's what?
It's really embarrassing for Dresden.
Why?
Because it's like all people in Dresden are nationalistic, and that's not true.
Critics of the anti-Islam movement say the Paris attacks are being used as propaganda. But leaders of the anti-Islam movement say they fear those attacks will scare people from speaking openly about the impact of Islam in modern Europe. Phil Black, CNN, Dresden, Germany.